Hello, everyone. This is Sharice Lindsay, Capital Coach and Leadership Training Facilitator at Life Seeds Development Group, where we are cultivating greatness one seed at a time. In celebration of National Career Development Week, I am interviewing a few local, purposeful women who embody the meaning of personal leadership. And today I have with me Ashley Shaw. This is interview number 3 in the series of 5 that are spanning the week of National Career Development Week. This is National Career Development Month, the entire month of November, and so we will be having different things go out to help you in your career development. So without further ado, I am going to read the bio of Ashley Shaw. Ashley Shaw, MS, MBA, is CORE, Creating Opportunities for a Recovery Employment Director with Marshall Health within the Division of Addiction Sciences. In this capacity, Ashley serves as the primary program liaison for CORE's 12-county regional infrastructure, purpose to provide workforce development training and job placement assistance to individuals in recovery. Ashley has 9 years of professional experience in workforce development program oversight, working extensively with nonprofit organizations in creating career skills training programs, building collaborative community partnerships, and assisting individuals in obtaining competitive employment opportunities within our tri-state region. Additionally, Ashley has taught in both public schools and post-secondary education institutions. She has a bachelor's degree in English with a concentration in secondary education, a master's degree in sociology, criminal justice, and a master's degree in business administration with a concentration in human resources. Above all, Ashley's desire is to assist individuals in gaining the knowledge and skills needed to lead passion and purpose-driven lives. Awesome.
Thank
Nice to
you.
have you, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Of course. So my first question for you today is, what is your actual personal definition of career development? What really does that mean to you?
Sure. So for me, career development is really just an ongoing process. It's always in flow, it's always in movement, and there's no end to that.
Right.
For me, career development is all about learning, applying, taking what you have learned, applying those new skills, and growing. And so for me, career development is all about being committed to being a lifelong learner, not always having the answers, but always looking for the answers. It's all about taking opportunities and making the best of them, and never taking any experience for granted.
I agree. Good job. I totally agree with that, especially not taking any experience for granted.
Right.
So that's real big right now because a lot of people are out of work, and they are, trying to use those, larger, oh, I did this or I did that project, but you have to think back too to smaller projects or little things that are everyday things that are
Right.
transferable skills to use the workplace.
Right, right. And so often, just to add to that, Sharice, we get so focused on career titles or what type of education employers are looking for, which is a great place to start. But I think it's really important not to forget the importance of those transferable skills that
Right.
you've gained along with projects, volunteer work that may be able to support further employment or career opportunities in the future.
Yes. Good answer. Great answer. So, what would you say are some of the misconceptions that women have about developing their careers?
Whew, there's a lot of those. I'm going to stick with one that I see a lot, just in my personal just career development and working with other folks. A lot of times I see that there's seemingly this war between career development and family, and that the two can't coincide together, that it has to be an all or nothing. I have, and I will readily admit and be very transparent, that I used to really have a struggle with creating balance between work and family because I am sort of a results driven person.
Right.
I tend to kind of put all eggs in a basket and I'm going to go for it. And so sometimes creating that balance can be problematic. And sometimes we tend to believe as women, we can't have it all. And I want to just negate that. Like, I believe
Yes.
women can have it all. And I think it's important, though, to recognize that it depends on the season that you're in, and you have to recognize your season. So for me, I'll just use me for an example. I am a mom, I'm a wife, and I have two young boys. I have to understand in this season of my life, there are times that I'm going to have to be more committed to showing up as a mom and being present as a mom. But there will be other opportunities that I can show up to be present for work. And so I try to be very intentional about creating that balance so that one doesn't suffer. And sometimes
Right.
that doesn't always happen, but the good thing is to just try to be reflective and just notice that, yes, you can have both. You just have to be mindful to balance the efforts between the two.
Great.
Um, the other piece that I find challenging for women, especially women, like if they are just coming out of college, I think sometimes we have this idea that we're going to have this microwave career.
Mm.
You just pop it in the microwave
Yeah.
for a few seconds, and ta-da, you're going to be exactly where you want to be.
It's not going
And
to,
that may happen for some people,
well,
but
yeah, it
for
could.
the majority of us, there's no such thing as a microwave career. I mean, you really do have to appreciate each experience, each process, and really pull from that. What is it that I can take from this and use for the next opportunity? And sometimes it's not pleasant. The process isn't always pleasant,
That's
like
true.
appreciating every opportunity. But really, you really want to take the time to use the knowledge that you're gaining, take advantage of those experiences, because you don't want to necessarily skip steps, because that's a part of the development. Like,
Right.
that's a part of the process.
Right.
So no microwave careers for me.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yes. Great point. Great point. Yeah, I totally agree with that 100%. I have to say that was a great point. That
Yeah.
happens a lot of times, but it's not only the fault of the person who's coming out, because, of
Hmm.
course, we love our colleges, but
Yeah.
their job is to get money from us in
Hmm.
order to give us, that education. And so that could be an area that needs to be developed a little bit more, in helping people to understand there's a process to this. It doesn't work that way. You don't just jump out and get exactly what it is that you're after.
Right. And I mean, so many will say, oh, I did this and I showed up here and you did it for like 3 months. Like,
Yeah.
you did it for like 3 months. Like,
Sure.
sure, it takes time. And sometimes we just need to be patient with ourselves and be patient with the process. We've created these, just touch a button and it will appear
Yeah.
society. And oftentimes our careers just don't work that way. And sometimes we think it's us, and then we're pointing fingers at the employer, when really it's just that you need to work the process.
True. That is so true. 100%. So, what would you say is your greatest accomplishment in terms of your career? This is a two-part question. And then
Mhm.
what did that teach you, that you can actually share with others?
You know, for me, the greatest accomplishment is I've always been me. Uh, I've I've always made a commitment to show up authentically myself, to be authentically present, not to be fake, not to be phony. I try to lead my life and in work and in my personal life, a life of integrity with character, that really stands on, what I say is what you're going to get, and there are no
Right.
surprises. And so for me, that, I know that might seem a little silly to say that, but that's really the
No.
greatest accomplishment for me. It's just, I've I'm still Ashley. Like, I don't have to be someone else or pretend to be someone else to grow my career. Yes, have there been things that I've tweaked along the way and said, whoo, that's a little too much. Pull that back. Sure, there are, but I'm still me at the end of the day. Like, I'm
Right.
still the girl that still likes to laugh. I'm still the woman who still, enjoys family. I'm still the person that wants to create relationship with people. So for me, that's been the greatest accomplishment.
Got you. Great. That's a great one. That's one that a lot of people, um, especially a lot of women, have a problem with because, I mean, all of us have these things about ourselves that we may not like so much, or, and it takes time to get to understand and love yourself for who you are. And a lot
Right.
of times that's something that's a challenge that we have to overcome. But
Mhm.
I, I love that. Great
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
I
And I
love
was like, you just, I always say to people, like, surround yourself with people who not what won't just build you up, but it's good to kind of focus on what do people say about you when they're giving you a compliment. And that's something to kind of focus
right.
on when you present yourself authentically, is to say, okay, these are some of my strengths. How can I use that to leverage additional opportunities?
Exactly. Exactly. So how do you leverage your strengths in your to be more effective in your career? That was kind of a segue question. How do you leverage your strengths to be more effective in your career?
So I'll be completely transparent. I struggle talking about my strengths. I
Hmm.
really do. So I have to lean more towards what I see in those little personality tests and things that they tell you about
Right.
yourself
Right.
and what you hear people say. But my
Start.
person, yeah, yeah. I am a person, I love taking those tests. I don't believe that those tests should pigeonhole you. I always
Right.
believe that there's opportunity to grow. But I will say for me, I'm very results oriented. Like, I'm very much focused on tasks. What's next? I think big picture. I'm very much a big picture thinker.
Hmm.
Um, I can often kind of see the end of something before it starts, so to speak.
Hmm.
And I've been really good at problem solving. And so for me, having those skills has really helped me with my career, in that a lot of the positions that I've been in, I've had to use that administrative experience. I've had to use that, systems thinking, that
Right.
problem solving, to really ground programs, but to also grow them. And so for me, that has helped me to just leverage additional opportunities and really to help foster that same learning experience for my current staff and previous staff and other organizations.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's one thing about the Strengths Finder and the True Colors, or the Myers-Briggs or assessments or whatever. They're supposed to give you like an insight or a look into,
Right.
your personality, but they don't tell the whole story. So,
No.
and then on the other side of that, and this was something that we had today in a webinar, was talking about, studying about shadows. So you may have strengths, but you also have shadows that have to be overcome that are attached to the
Right.
strengths. And it's just a continuous process. Like you said,
Right.
it's a lifelong thing. You just keep working on that to
Yep.
you know keep progressing.
Yeah. And
That's awesome.
it's so funny. I was in a leadership training several years ago, and they were talking about your strengths and your weaknesses, and they brought up a point that really stood out to me, is that any strength, if you overdo a strength,
Yeah,
can become a weakness, right?
true.
So, assertiveness can be a strength, but if it's overdone, then it's
Yes,
aggression at that point. And
true.
so recognizing how to find that balance and how to pull, like when to lean in and when to pull back,
Right.
is a skill, and it really is something you have to grow over time.
Yeah, and that's more like a leadership discernment, but yeah, it's something
Hmm.
you have to keep practicing to get,
Right.
to improve on it. But
Hmm.
yes, great answer. So what is it in your current position that actually brings you the most joy? What kind of lights you up when you walk into core at Marshall Health?
So for me, it's all about seeing people really gain opportunities to take them from not having to having, um,
Right.
really connecting people to purpose and passion. that for me has been the ultimate thing. Like for me, I will be very honest with you. I've always been the person that says I try not to do anything outside of something that I don't feel passionate about. That doesn't mean that I'm like always like in love with it, but I have to be passionate about my work. It's hard for me to do a job if I don't feel passionate about it.
True.
And so I've been very blessed over the past, 10 years that I've been able to connect to my passion in that I am rooted in helping people. And so if it can help people realize a goal, to gain the next prong on the ladder, if it means moving up, whatever that is, and however I can support individuals, that's my passion. I just want to be there to be the person's cheerleader.
Awesome. And Marshall Health, I'll just say this. Marshall Health is like they're just blessed to have you there.
Oh,
Like I don't know how, I mean, it just, I don't know, just like your face on everything and everything that you do there, it's like you give them that extra light, and you can see the passion. It kind of comes through, it comes through your face, it comes through your words and everything that you say. So they are overly blessed to have
thank you.
we
Thank you so
we
much.
are blessed to have you in our community,
Thank you.
period. So we
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
it. The next question is reflecting on your career and or leadership experiences. What advice would you give to a woman that's currently watching this interview, wanting to improve or advance her career?
So I would say, set goals, be purposeful of those, but be nimble, be willing to adapt. Don't be so focused on a career title that you miss out, again, as I've said before, on an opportunity.
Right.
I would also say to the next woman, a lot of times we become very degree focused, which is great. I'm all about education. I think it serves us well, and it has its purpose. But don't forget that education may allow someone to see you and recognize you on paper, but your interpersonal skills and your soft skills and how you show up every day is
Definitely.
what really gets the job. That's what keeps the job. That's what really moves you to the next step. It's really your soft skills. How do you show up to work? Are you passionate about what you do? Do you do what you say you're going to do? Can your employers count on you? Are you a team player? And do you really know how to express yourself when things aren't going the way that they should?
Right.
So it's, I don't want to paint this as a pretty picture. It's a give and take between the employer and the individual. But I think it's really important that we not oversell education. Again, education is important, but it does you no good if you don't show up in the room well. If your presence can't be received well, it does you no good to have the education at the end.
Right. Very, very good point. That is very true. I agree with that, definitely, wholeheartedly. So is there anyone in your life, or I'll put it this way, who has had the most influence on your career? Or is there any one person? I mean, is there any one person? Is there a series of people?
I would say hands down, most influential would be my parents. Absolutely. Like, I wouldn't be where I am today, not that I'm anywhere special, but I wouldn't be who I am today without my parents. I watch my parents, get up every day and model what it looks like to be a professional. And although this is meant for, women who are currently in leadership, like if you have children and you have, daughters and sons, you don't want to forget that you're modeling behaviors for them that will impact them for the rest of their lives. And so I watch my parents show up every day. They were always consistent. And, I remember my mom being a working mom, and some way she balanced it all. I admire her to this day. Still don't know how she did it, but she did. And she often says, you're doing it too. You just don't realize it.
Right.
It too. But she showed up every day, and she was, consistent, and she was a team player. And my dad was, he was a leader. He was very well respected in the community. And so for me, I really watched my parents lead other people in just humility and in grace and being a servant to others. They never forgot about others. They were always mindful to keep, our faith in God first.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget your family, and don't forget service to others. Like, you don't forget the people who are behind you or the people who supported you. And so my parents, absolutely. But of course, there have been lots of, influential people along the way who assisted and cultivated that. And I wanted to add one more point to that. Always, as women, if you have children, I know this is kind of a different subject, but one thing you want to think about is, thinking about opportunities where you can give your children opportunities to grow themselves, grow their leadership ability. My parents, I don't know if they realized they were doing it at the time, but I can remember at the age of 3 saying the Lord's Prayer in a church service in front of, people. And so I can really see that leadership, that administrative piece was really being, really cultivated at a very early age, because I was given tasks to do to help do that. And so I say to other women, look for opportunities, be open to opportunities, but also if you have children, if you're trying to help them grow, if you see something in them, provide opportunities to grow that.
Yes. Yeah, that's an awesome point. Especially when, this is something that I talked about in the last interview. Kaylin and I were talking about women who recognize something in other women and actually helping them to pull that out. And so that is in the same vein. Of course, your children, you should be, of course, putting as much into that as you possibly can. But it correlates. I mean, it's all the same thing. It's all in the same vein. And it is important that we take responsibility to do the things that we need to do to help the next one to pull up into that same type of leadership and their talent, whatever their talents may be. I think we were talking about she actually is a PR, a public relations. She has a public relations firm here in Huntington, and we were talking about how she can identify women or anyone who has some of the skills and the talents that are necessary for communications in that field. And we were, kind of talking about that, and it all relates to the same thing. And this is our third interview. So now that I've spoken to 3 different women, it's crazy how you all are saying some of the same things.
Oh, good.
So I'm going to, what I'm going to do is at the end of the series, I'm going to recap and point out some things that have stood out to me. I recognize patterns pretty good. So I'm going to talk about and discuss those patterns that I'm seeing after this is all over. But I do have one more question for you before we go. And that question is, what should we be doing to help the female leaders of tomorrow?
We can't be intimidated by female leaders of tomorrow. I think sometimes, there's sometimes this like, oh my gosh, if I help the next person, then I'm going to lose my spot.
True. Some people do think, I don't.
The goal is to create room for someone else. The goal is not to be so focused on you. The goal is for you to groom someone else so that when it's time for you to move on somewhere else, then you've groomed someone else to be able to either take your spot or to be able to use their skills in the community. So for me, just don't be afraid to be vulnerable and show people who you are and to help others. I'll be very honest with you. Like, I have a whole problem with the crab mentality. Like, I'm not going to pull another woman down or another man down to get where I'm trying to go. And so for me, I just say, focus on building those skills for yourself, but don't forget to reach back to others.
And
I feel like you need to do more
I'm,
of the reaching back.
I there was a reason that I specifically that I pointed or picked out the 5 women that I did. And like I said, I put local, purposeful women who embody the meaning of personal leadership. So this question, the way that you answered it, indicates the personal leadership that you have. And so the goal of all of this and what I'm trying to show is that it begins with personal leadership.
Mhm.
And having that will lead to these things that we are discussing.
Right.
It will lead to that. But it's
Right.
important that we all have that element first, because we can't give out what we don't have. So personal leadership is number one. And so securing that and putting that and getting that into place is really important. And I'm hoping that, we will continue to build up the community with learning more about that and understanding and expressing personal leadership as a whole.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was the whole purpose of that.
Yeah. I agree. It starts first with self, and then you reach back and get others.
Right. So I appreciate you, Ashley Shaw.
Thank you for the invitation, Sharice. I will say I was pleasantly surprised, but when I saw the questions, I was like, I don't know if she's picked the right person or not to do this. But I really appreciate the invitation.
Yes, and we appreciate you coming on. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.